Oh, come on, OBS. There we go. Thank you. Yeah, so again, okay, this is 2 days in a row now. OBS uh has just stopped sending data to YouTube for so long that YouTube just is like, "Oh, I guess they're gone. All right, the stream's over." and and OBS has no idea. It doesn't detect it. And so I have to tell OBS to stop the stream. And every time I do that, it crashes because presumably it's like, wait, you want me to stop the stream, but the stream already stopped, but I don't think the stream stopped. And it freaks out. So, yeah, man, they need to stop adding features to OBS if they can't make the basic ones just keep working. I don't know what to say. It's really frustrating. Uh Another Discord notification. Yeah. Oh well. Oh well. All right. Anyways, so I did the tedious thing of copying that whole query thing to all four things, and now in theory it should just work. I don't need to console.log anything. Okay. So I changed the fill. How do I change the fill? Well, I change this, and I change this, and I change this. Yeah, I change all the things. That looks nice. Yeah, that looks about right. Sure. And then I come over here, and it's like, wow, be careful, because you'll change everything. And then it goes away. And then this goes away. And then this goes away. Perfect. That's exactly how it should work. That's exactly how it should work. So if I come over here, change the line width, this doesn't matter. Yep. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah. Because sometimes you do want to edit two layers at the same time so that you can make sure that they line up. Well, I mean this is the classic use case of it, right? Where you have the outline. You have the outline and you want to make sure that it stays equal. Most of the other things that you would be doing, you don't want to do this though, right? So it's a pretty rare thing, but the functionality is there now, which is freaking cool if you ask me. Wow. All right. What's next? Okay. Is my stream okay? The audio bitrate is 0 once again, which is impossible, but OBS does it somehow. We don't ask silly questions. I've been texted. I have a notification on my maintenance request. Oh, for heaven's sake. Do I go look at that? All right, hold on a second. Okay, it's just we have received and assigned the service request. There's just like a small problem with my toilet, and so, oh my god, LinkedIn wants to send me job recommendations. Stop, unsubscribe. Don't notify me for any of this stupid shit. Okay. Now I'm in a bad mood. Sending me spam emails. Gosh dang it. Uh okay. Um so that was a little bit painful, but now that it's done, I mean look at all this. Look at all the size of the code over here. I can delete this now. Okay. The next functionality. What are some of my missing features? Let's not decide anything hastily now. So we have we have the layer operations that need to be implemented for one thing. We have color, the ability to change the color of your fill or your line layer. Yeah, we have clicking on the layer div to select it. That's something. And then we have control point editing. Control point editing. Hmm. How should control point editing work? Because this other stuff is just like a little bit too easy. I'm trying to think of like the hardest things. So control point editing is I need to let the user be able to select their control point in an easy and intuitive way. So the only way I can think to do that is to let them actually physically click on said control point. Which is easy to do in this view because the arrow's really big. uh, but a problem is, how does the user know exactly where to click? How do they know that they even can click on the control points, right? How would they know that? So I think the solution is to give me some kind of button I can click, and maybe it could be somewhere around here that and we want it in here on the right because the fewer things that I try to pack in here, the better. Uh, yeah, so we click this button that I haven't created yet, and it will the show a circle, I suppose, for each control point. It'll show a circle for each control point. And then what? Okay. So after I show them, I click on one of them. I click on one of them. Can I select multiple control points to edit? Why would I want to edit multiple control points? Why would I want to edit multiple? Um, I think the only reason I would want to edit multiple control points is if I want to reflect the changes on both sides. So far, that's the only reason I can think of. So if I want to like click on this control point and I want to change its specific bevel size, you can't change like its specific width or something like that, line width. You can't do that. You could, in theory, change its thickness. What would that do? Right? If I told this control point that it was part of an arrow that was thicker than it actually was, what would happen is it would just it would I think it would move in this direction, which would cause this and this to no longer be at 90-degree angles. Which could be pretty cool. Ah, okay. So editing a single control point for now is probably a good enough goal. But in order to enable that, there's some underlying infrastructure, okay, that I have to change. Um, and in theory, I'd also like have to be able to edit the same control point on multiple layers. That's certainly something that's possible. And it would probably just mean redoing this section of code again, which is no big deal because I've written it once and then I can obviously write it again. It's just a lot. It's just a lot. It's just a lot. But that's fine. You know, what's another 150 lines of code? Um, okay, but the underlying infrastructure that needs to change is the fact that my control points currently Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Ooh, that's what I could do. Hold on. Um, Interesting. Yeah. So when I go to update my control point, its its like authoritative source of the state of the arrow comes from the layer. It comes from the layer class. Ideally, ideally each control point would have its own independent understanding of the state of the arrow that it belongs to, and we can mess with its understanding of that to put the point somewhere else. Okay, the underlying calculations for their positions don't have to change. It's just, oh yeah, see, look at this. Yeah, all these update functions are the same, interestingly enough. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. So if I put these in the control point, if I put those in the control point, that's something. Um, bevel size ratio. Bevel size ratio. Does the hmm. So the line layer. Where's my line layer? Okay. When we go to draw, or render even, we render main and we create paths. The bevel mode, okay. That's a little bit of a problem. If I look at the path, okay. Ideally, each control point could have its own bevel type. That would be the ideal case. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So we would have bevel mode. Yeah. Okay, so each control point then would not have line width. Okay. Because line width has to remain consistent across the whole thing because I I don't think you can have a gradient width. I don't think you can have a gradient line width. Um, because at that point, I guess. I mean, in theory, okay. Real quick, I'm just gonna Google if it's possible. It's a little bit out of scope of this next change, but I'm just curious. HTML canvas, um, variable line width. Drawing lines with continuously varying line width on HTML canvas. Okay, let's see. How do they solve this problem? They manually change the line width occasionally, is what it looks like. So it's actually a bunch of rectangles that slowly get smaller, I think is what I'm seeing. Or it could be 0.012. Huh. Or I could use Bezier curves. Right, right. And then do a oh, you stroke the curve. You don't actually fill it. You use stroke. That's unexpected, but okay. But this draw is 25. Okay, so there's not really a clean way to do that. There's not just like a varying line width thing. Okay, just had to make sure. Just wanted to check, you know, you need to check your knowledge on these things. Okay, so we're totally going to break everything now. A control point will have public, yeah, whatever. Make everything public unless you're certain it's going to be private. Okay, we will have a public top left. Which we can abuse to like let the user literally manually move the point around if they really wanted to. But that's like later. Size. This is not a point 2D. Okay. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, and a bevel mode. I think bevel mode is like that's all that's in there, yeah. Cool. So now each control point has this, and there are 3, 6, 9. We've just multiplied the amount of memory we're taking up by 9. Oh my gosh. Pretty sure that's not a problem at all, because a single variable is like nothing. Okay, generate standard control points seems about right. We're probably at some point gonna need a more advanced one of these that takes in like a save file and sets each of the values on the control points individually. But we're not worrying about that right now. Okay. Yeah, so right now it calls update repeatedly with the same information. And in the future we will change that. I'm not gonna make bevel mode part of the update yet. We can just ignore that variable for now until we want to use it. Okay. And here's the update function. Here's the update function. Okay, what do we do? We say, hey, control point, here's your new thickness and bevel size. And there's also some validation on some of them, which is totally fine. We're gonna have to refine this validation though. Yeah, because in the future, Yeah, I think this validation is going to have some kind of issue when I can edit each one manually. Or maybe it's actually just that it's too restrictive and I can unrestrict it a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Let me think here. Thickness, bevel size. Do I want to store ratios in the control points or absolute values? Probably still ratios, right? Probably I still store the ratios. Size. Size is a problem. It should be size ratio, I think. Yeah, it should be size ratio. And then at the start of each of these, we're going to say let size number equal to size ratio times global size. Yeah. Yeah, okay. And then we'll say this dot, this dot, this dot, this dot. Is it going to know what this dot is? Surely it will. This dot is the control point, right? I think so. This dot size ratio is equal to size ratio. Okay. Yes, and this will all be relatively tedious work that we will have to repeat 9 times, but that is no problem. That's no freaking problem, man. Okay, this dot thickness ratio, this dot bevel size ratio. That is all correct. Okay. Top left. I think we do that as well. And we do the assignments after the validation. Good times. Good times. Okay. Everything's using, and then tip center, that's fine. Everything's using this dot where it can, basically. I don't think there's any ratios in actual points, though, which is great. That's, like, ideal. Because it's going to be so easy to mess up one of these calculations by forgetting of this dot. So I just want to be extra careful that I'm doing that correctly. Okay, so here we say this dot thickness ratio. Oh, and we don't have a definition for size locally, so we'll do that now. Yeah, we'll do that everywhere. Copy this because I'm going to be sprinkling it on everything. Alrighty. Awesome. I mean, I could... Let me think for a second. Is there a compression that I can perform on these control points? Well, a control point is essentially all this data, and what's unique about it is the validation. That's one thing that's unique about it. So you could define the validation as something that has a unique side effect based on the update information. Okay, so it has a unique update or a unique validation, and it has a unique output, like it outputs 3 points based on this input. No, I think it's nearly as compressed as it can be. Like the only things that are redundant are like these things. But no, it's fine. It's not, these aren't that big. It's, yeah, I think it's okay. It's okay for now. Very cool. Okay. And we have to update it. Yeah, okay. So we have to update it. And what does it get updated with? Well, it gets updated with the layers values for these things. Does it make sense for a layer to have these values anymore? I would argue maybe. Oh, okay. We've got another problem. Uh, okay. The reason why it makes sense for these layers to have values is so that when you go to edit a specific layer, when you go to edit a specific layer, you see a value be populated in here. But the second you, like if you were to go in here and change a specific control points value, then all of these, except for line width, would have like should have a warning here. Okay, no, it's okay. It's okay if layers have values for these things. It's just a little bit tricky, because the hierarchical nature of these things. It's like what it's like is like imagine you had a tree structure. The root node was blank, and then the root node was connected to all these layers, and then each of the layers is connected to leaf nodes. And if you're editing stuff at the root node, that's kind of crazy. But you sort of want to start there, I think. I think that's the user experience. I think that's the user experience I want, where it's like you start with a design idea at the root node and like with layers, and then you go in there and edit specific control points later. Like that's like towards the end of the process. Sure, sure, why not? That seems like the only way I could possibly organize this data, if I'm honest. So, why not? Why not? Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's interesting. So, how does the layer get the information to the control points that belong to it? Because we don't have a separate UI. Well, we kind of do have a separate UI for the control points, but we don't have like a. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could have like a drop down button here that I click that reveals a list of the 9 control points, and you could select them that way. But that's a lot of things to put in a list, and I think that's actually an inferior way rather than you click the layer you want and then you click the control point you want and then you edit the values rather than click the layer you want, click the, how would you know which control point you want? It like I'd have to figure out some way to represent it to the user, right? I could have like little symbols, but I still think that that's an inferior way of doing it rather than having it show up here. Yeah, and then if it were in the drop downs, you couldn't edit the same control point on multiple layers very easily because you'd have to like click this one and then scroll through all 9 and click the next one. Whereas in this setup, you click the layers and then you click the control point and it's automatically selecting that same control point on both. However, there will be fun what do I call it? There will be fun edge cases where if I if I allow there to be different kinds of control points than just the standard 9, then there could be a layer that has a different set of control points, and I'd have to figure out how to align those. Like if you're selecting a layer that has weird different kinds of control points, like how do I show that? I'd probably only show the ones that are in common on this. Okay, decision made. Yeah, so how do I send an update to the control point? That's a conundrum. Well, I would like them to have names, I guess. Let's assume they don't have names. Maybe if they had names, I would let's see. Yeah, I would give it like a name attribute here so that I can display to the user what the name of it is. That could work, but no, for now, I want to get it working fast. So I think it's like small correction. I'll have a separate interface. uh, although, aren't they the same? Okay. Are fill control points the same as line control points, therefore they should have the same interface? Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Okay. Control point. So we have a export interface control point update. Okay. And I need this to work the same way as the layer updates because the UI is going to have the same quirks. Yes, I think that's right. Because the UI will be sending updates that have an incomplete representation of the state, that means that I will have to sort of duplicate this same concept. Okay, I can handle that. So that means that this update is going to change to be a control point update, which is good. I will have to do the undefined checks. still. It will map a it will map an update to void. Okay. And now we have a new fun problem. We have to do new fun problems here. Yeah. Because we don't need to validate fields that are undefined. Okay, how would this work? I certainly don't want to do this. I'm going to use default if undefined now, I think. So let me see here. So when there's no validation, it is as simple as default if undefined this dot top left. Right? Right. Okay. Except it's not top left, it's control point update dot top left. Okay. And this I can do like so. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, so this is how it will work for any that don't have a validation step, which is literally none of them. Gosh dang it. Fine. Okay. I'm gonna stick them here. I'll stick it here for this one and see how I have to change it. Oh, well, one thing I certainly have to change on all of them is their function, their update prototypes. Very good. Okay. This was wrong to begin with. Okay. Oops. It should always have been this dot. Nope, try again. There we go. Okay. Now the validation. We say if control point update dot bevel size ratio is not undefined, then we validate it and change its value to a value that would be valid. It's dependent on thickness ratio. So we say the thickness ratio well, the thickness ratio is not the thing that we're correcting for, right? So if we do this first, then thickness ratio will be up to date. Right. And then we say boop, boop. And then we complete the initialization, or the whatever you want to call it. Okay, the update. Now, these are redundant. Yeah, okay, so let me... Okay, yeah, so what I'll be doing is basically copying these in replacement of this. Oh, you can be slightly sloppy with the selection. Okay. Yeah, so it's all contingent on bevel size. Cool. So I bring up the thickness ratio one. Yep, and I do very much the same thing. I do add a line break there. I thought so. Okay, and I think it's the same idea. It is the same idea elsewhere. Got it. Gonna like copy copy this everywhere. Yeah. Perfect. Yes. Don't all these code blocks looks very, very similar. Yes. Okay. Cool. Now the control points are ready. They're basically done. At least for this next feature, they're done. However, we have this fun problem. We have this fun problem where now we're not using the interface properly. We have this fun problem. You know what? Actually, I think I should take a break to make lunch. What time is it? Yeah, it's 12:30. It would be a good time to take a break to make lunch. So I think that's what I'm going to do. That's what must be done. And I will continue this effort at another time. So anyways, for those who did show up, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again. Until next time. Farewell.